wants to raise their hand and give me what they thought the purpose of the document was? Oh, my correction. It was written in 1909 is when it was done. Okay. Purpose of the Madison. What do you think the purpose was?
I thought it was like an awareness letter to the government saying there's child labor and this is what the circumstances are in a certain place.
Okay. Anybody else want to share what they thought? Michaela?
It was to tell the reader about how bad child labor has gotten in 1909 in Maryland.
Alright. Nick?
Shows how hard it was to feed their families.
Yep. So that gives indication of how hard it was to feed their families. Tyler?
To tell how bad the working conditions were and to try to change the conditions of the laws.
Yep. So they probably submitted this to the government. So this Lewis Hine submitted it there. Probably trying, what do you think his goal was by submitting this? What do you think he was trying to do? To change it. So he was probably trying to move for some kind of change in the practices that these businesses were really going through, especially this. What kind of business was this? A cannery, so in Maryland. Alright, so 3 important ideas. So if you had to explain this article or sum it up to a person that had never read it before, what were the 3 biggest points you tell them about? You guys already said some of them, but so they had to work to up their wages. Yep. It's kind of like slavery, yeah. Michaela?
Families were promised things that they never got.
Yep. So they were promised things they never got. Anything else?
Like they often move during the winter to work in fields.
Yep.
The living conditions that they make.
Living conditions were poor.
They were punished. They were punished.
Yep, they were punished. Okay. So those are all big major points that the article tried to stress. Okay. Here's the one. This one's a little more difficult, but you guys probably got it. What are some of the similarities and differences between what you read in this article and what we talked about last week? So they both talked about poor wages. What else?
They both talked about how they were treated miserably.
So they were treated bad. Long and hard hours. Anybody else have anything? What about any differences? Did you guys notice any differences between what you read?
We talked about Amalia, but they worked in mines.
Yeah, so we talked about a different scene. Madison?
I didn't know that they could get work permits to actually work legally.
So yeah. So what do you think they did about those work permits? What did it say? What was the problem with those?
They got hired first and got permits later.
So they probably, those places would probably never what?
Never get permits.
Never got.
They probably would never get them right. So that was the problem.
The ages were different.
Ages were different. What about where they lived? What was different about that? We saw, where did they live in the cities? They lived in those big apartments. What were they called?
Tenants.
Tenement houses. Tenement apartments.
I know. I guess they live in shacks.
Tyler?
The primary sources were one-sided about how the
Go ahead.
the primary source is one-sided where we talk about both the benefits and the negatives.
Yep. So we talked about both sides. This is talking about just the negative portion. Okay. So this is the one, the last question is the one I really wanted you to concentrate on. So who wants to share what they put down? I'm sure you guys can just... Anybody loud and clear? Wanna?
I will.
Madison,
I'm indifferent about it. I think certainly it's a good idea to react. I think this because I think this because I feel like time and my parents never gave me money, so I had to get a job. But then back then, you got a job and you had your own money. Or you gave it to your family, if you actually needed it, you give it to your parents. But I think they should, change the working conditions and maybe not work the kids as much. And then, at least give them some.
Okay. Morgan seems to disagree with part of it, so what do you got?
It's wrong. And the story, like, shut.
Morgan has the floor, let's give her a chance to speak.
Cause like they have like 3 and 4-year-old kids like working all hours of the day with little to no break, and then like it's just wrong. And like they put like weights around your neck, like you could like die if you fell backward.
Very true.
Like that's wrong. It's like abuse.
What if they needed the money to pay for food and stuff though? What other? They can't.
Well, then like I mean it's okay if they're like 14 or 15, but like no one should have to work in any of those conditions. Like
Very true.
If they would change the conditions, though, it wouldn't be that bad.
Like if they change
Then
the
maybe it'd be
conditions
fine.
and like the whole situation, it wouldn't be as bad as.
Okay.
Yep. I think they should at least get a proper education.
So.
Not work all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what we said. What led to the decline of some of this child labor was the requirement of what?
Education.
So around some of these times you were required to go to school for the first time, which led to a decline in the amount of, children that were employed with these factories.
I believe child labor is very wrong, because if you look up anything about child labor or see or hear any type of overview, you wouldn't see anything good about it at all.
So that's
Yeah.
a
True
negative
girl,
portion.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick? Say what? Okay, what's your question?
They teach them how to use machinery.
Yeah, they would give them a run through on what to do. So they would know exactly what their job was, because you guys kind of saw it with the activity. What was, was your job like? Was it hard really when we did the assembly line? So it was kind of like what? It was kind of boring. You did the same thing, right? So they knew what they were doing, but if they messed up, like when if you guys would have broken a cracker, you guys would have been responsible for paying that. So those are kind of the problems that they would have to deal with. Okay. Does anybody else want to share what they put? Anything? What about if I was to say? What if you were to take the side of the business owner? You're trying to keep the costs what? If the cost is low.
Yeah, but still,
I would
wouldn't
feel bad
treat
seeing,
little
like, a
kids
6-year-old
like that.
They would if you own money.
Dying.
I still wouldn't treat little kids bad like that. I'd make them want to come to work.
True.
But I
I mean, I wouldn't mind him
still wouldn't promise them. Like you promise them something, but then you wouldn't deliver on your promise. Like you tell them that you give them nice place to live, good food, and all this, but then they get crappy food, crappy houses, and crappy stuff.
Okay, what did you guys think about the sheds where everybody lived in the same place?
That was horrible.
Right.
Okay.
If you think about it, the Indians do.
But what were some of the problems if everybody was living in the same place?
There's no
You
privacy.
didn't get the proper amount of sleep.
Okay, Nathan?
No privacy.
No privacy, Mackenzie?
You didn't get the proper amount of sleep you needed for
You
like
had
work.
sanitary issues. Probably people got sick a lot. They always share it.
I'll take it. Nick? I can't hear you. Claustrophobia, yeah. So what? I could add that. You guys think it's weird that, you could have kids as little as 3 and you guys were all sleeping in the same room, you got your parents and your older siblings there? I know in one instance in the document they said that the kids were exposed to things they probably weren't supposed to be exposed to.
Obviously.
So, that's the downfall of living in the shed. Okay, what about this though? Hang with me guys here for a second. Would you guys rather live in the shed or the tenement house? The tenement apartment?
Aren't they
I'd
both like
rather
the same
live
though?
in the
What's
middle
the
of the
tenement?
street.
In a
You said the
box.
tenement?
Yeah, what is that?
The tenement is the apartment, is those tall apartments. Is the tall apartments we looked at last week, where the whole family lived in the same room, but they were a little bit bigger than these sheds. It
Then
sounds
that
like.
one.
They rather live in the tenement. But what are some, Michaela?
I think I would rather live in a box.
box.
In a box on the road?
I'd rather
Oh,
be
it's
by
always
myself.
that
But the rain.
Almost
And of course I'd
Okay.
buy mine, so I would.
Alright.
Should be more sanitary.